Hi everyone, I'm Manali. I've been with ThoughtWorks for past more than 2 years now, and overall I have a 6 years of experience. Uh, yeah, I've been working as a DevOps consultant with ThoughtWorks, and now I'll pass on to Sparsh to introduce himself.
Hi everyone, I'm Sparsh. I've been working with ThoughtWorks for the past 6 months. I joined as infrastructure consultant, and yes, consulting infrastructure, that is what I do. Let's start.
Yeah, so I guess all of us feel that if any concept becomes easy to learn if we relate it through real life examples. And hence today we'll start with a short story to ensure that we understand this base concept of pipelines thoroughly. So yeah, let's get started. I'll just share my screen. Okay. So can you all see my screen? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so this seems to be very familiar face, right? Any guesses who he is? Uh, you can send in your answers to the chat box.
Your screen is not visible, Manali.
No?
Manali, yes.
Let me just try it again. Wait. Now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you can see the PPT screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So any ideas who he is? Wait. Okay. Yeah. So I guess we have all seen the answer now. Doesn't make sense to send in the chat windows. So yeah, this is Bob the Builder. I guess all of us have seen it in the cartoons earlier in our childhood days. So today we'll try to explain the concept of pipelines used with Bob the Builder as our character, right? So yeah, so ThoughtWorks shows as Bob's client, they want Bob to renew the office space and build a new office for them. So ThoughtWorks shows the land to Bob, which needs to be furnished as per the designs, the shared designs that we have. And there would of course be discussions related to finances and all, but for now we'll keep it simple and assume that Bob will be working on the project and ensure a smooth movement of ThoughtWorkers to the new office, right? So yeah, Bob then start thinking on the strategies to build this project. So maybe thinking about manpower, timeline, resources, budget, profit, anything. So there are multiple things that he can think of, right? So there could be different ways wherein Bob can deliver this project to ThoughtWorkers in a minimal time in an efficient manner, right? So what could be the ways that he could deliver this? So he thinks of two strategies. First, he thinks that he and his team will decide that it will take a certain time. Let's say it takes X number of months to complete the project. And once everything is completed, they'll give it to the client. They'll give it to ThoughtWorkers as a complete package. That means the image that we showed in the beginning, this image, they'll have it all uh, renovated and they'll hand it over once everything is completed, right? So far so good. Yeah. So what could be the other way that Bob could think of? So we'll see the other strategy that he thought of. So Bob and his team decide that they'll divide the office into certain sections. So the plan would be to work on sections, finish it, and then ask ThoughtWorks to use it. So let's say this office space that we saw in the beginning. So we might have certain area finished at a certain time, maybe certain meeting rooms or a certain open area, and we will deliver it to client to use it and give feedback, right? ThoughtWorks sends small team to use that section and give feedback. Of course, when people will be using it live, they'll be able to share more feedback. And while few people use that section, the section that has already been built, Bob and his team, they start working on another section to ensure that it is completed as well, right? So we have seen the two strategies that Bob could use to deliver this software, to deliver this new space to ThoughtWorks. So let's take a pause here, and I want you all to answer the poll that we'll be launching in a few seconds. So yeah, Mrinal, can you launch the poll? You'll have 1 minute to answer this. So the first strategy, he'll complete it all in a one go. And the second strategy, it would be done in sections, and each section would be delivered to client for a live feedback. So 5 more seconds and we are closing the poll. So yeah. So here are the results. So 32% people feel that we'll go with strategy 1 and 68% feel that we should go with strategy 2. So of course we'll go with the audience, the majority audience. So yeah, Bob will go with the second approach that he has. So let's see what are the cons of this first strategy, why he doesn't want to choose the first strategy. So we are saying that it would be a long wait for possession. Long wait for possession for whom? For ThoughtWorks. So they'll have to wait a long time before they can actually go in and use that space, right? And of course, moving employees, all employees together will be a hurdle because they'll have to ensure that they are moving employees. Along with that, they have to move all their resources that they'll be using. They have to ensure their stationery, their monitors, and everything else, right? And for a long time, while that renovation is in place, ThoughtWorks would be paying the rent without any return. So of course, that's a drawback for ThoughtWorks because they not get any return and they'll have to pay the rent. It is difficult to make changes after completion. Of course, when we say that Bob will deliver the whole product as a after completion, so after everything is completed and employees have moved into the space, it would be difficult to make any changes to the area if required. And we won't get any practical feedback. Only when people will start using it, they'll be able to share their feedback. And of course, after that, there would be they would face challenges in making any changes to the structure they have already built. Resource overutilization or underestimate. So there would be resources. So in terms of resources like that Bob may be using to build the whole structure, there might be a scenario wherein he has overutilized the resources or underestimated certain resources that he'll be using to build the project. And of course, this is less flexible as requirement may change. When we say that we might want to make changes after it has been completed and after everyone has moved. So in terms of that, it is less flexible. Even in the middle, if requirements may change, let's say we want to change the position of any meeting room, it would be difficult to make those changes once the structure has already started building, right? So these are the few cons that we see with the first strategy. Okay, I'll just take a pause here and do we think there is any question that needs to be asked? Okay, so I'll move on to the pros of the second strategy. Okay, so of course, when people will move in, even in a small section, they'll be able to share their real-time feedback. Real-time feedback as in what sort of placement of the meeting rooms, tables or chairs, is it all comfortable? Are the whiteboards near to them? Are any resources, cafeteria able, like within their reachable area, and those sort of stuff, right? Early testing, of course, when people will start using it, so it would be an early testing phase, and early they'll be able to share the feedback early. Employee movement made easy, since we are saying that we'll be moving employees in sections. So once a section is completed, people would be moving to that area. They'll be using it live and giving the feedback. So obviously there would be no hurdle of moving all employees together to that area, right? Increased visibility of work done till date. So when we say that there's increased visibility, we say that once a section is completed and it's ready to use and is being used by people, so we can see its usability and the way it's being done, right? So in terms of that, it would have increased visibility to everyone, be it ThoughtWorks management or ThoughtWorkers. So new change implementation easy. So while the work is still going on, if there are any changes that people suggest, they'll be able to make it more like implement it and accommodate it more easily. Yeah. Okay, so I'll move on to the next one. So yeah, we've seen how Bob would be taking in the two strategies to implement, and what actually what path he would be taking to deliver this whole project to ThoughtWorks, right? So now relating it to actual CI/CD world, what is continuous integration? So continuous integration is integration of canteen, desk, meeting room, play area, or electrician, anything that Bob has already built, and it is usable by others to integrate things over it, right? So once he's done with other section, one of the sections, maybe an electrician or someone from the networking team, they can come in and start using and building it up, right? So continuous delivery. So Bob is done with one section, he has delivered it to client, so that section is made available to use. So delivery translates to make a product usable, right? So we'll take a brief pause here, and I'll let Sparsh take over the next slide and spend some time discussing CI/CD model in the technology world.
Thank you, Manali, for giving us context on CI/CD with such an interesting example. Now, everybody, let's talk about how things happen in the software world. If we remember software engineering subjects from college, we know that there are stages to any software development. We know them as software development lifecycle. So usually what happens is we sit with the client, we understand their requirement, and we plan the solution and start coding it, and then we build it. And there are some tests that we do on that, and then we release it for clients to use them, and we deploy them to several environments, production or a developer or an integration, and then we use it, monitor it, and get some feedback around it. Now this happens in a very linear manner. Everything is done in a very flat manner. So one stage is done and then we move on to next stage. Okay, so this is not flexible enough. So let's say if client changes something and he says, okay, I do not like this section. Okay, let's say we are building a e-commerce website and he says, okay, my card doesn't look good, I want to change the design. So everything goes back to zero and we have to start from the scratch again. And that is what we know as the waterfall method. And as we understood the benefits of CI/CD with the Bob's example, our motive is to make the software development lifecycle more continuous. And what does continuity mean? This infinity diagram explains and describes that. So this is an analogy we use where everything is linked and made continuous. So let's say you may have multiple teams working on different features, and as soon as they are done, they can be pushed to production or any other environment. Based on whatever monitoring and analysis we have, we can build things upon that, not restart from scratch every time. This is how we make a software development lifecycle agile. And CI/CD are two practices that helps us making our project agile, right? Now, to implement them, we have some tools which we will discuss later, obviously. So I hope that you get this diagram and what it represents. So let's start with discussing CI/CD in detail. Over to you, Manali.
Thanks, Persh. That was helpful. So continuous integration, as we all know, it's a development practice that requires developers to integrate code into a shared repository several times a day. So when we say a shared repository, that usually refers to the GitHub repo or the repo where our code resides actually, right? So it could be Bitbucket, it could be GitHub, it could be GitLab, anything that where your code resides, right? So we say that it's a practice that requires all the developers to ensure that they have their code checked in to the repository and it's all on the master, right? Each check-in is then verified by an automated build, allowing teams to detect problems early. So in an application development, an app can have multiple modules, right? So, and you can have multiple teams working on each of these modules. So as software is shipped as a whole, we need to integrate those modules together, right? So they can work together easily. So after integration, if we test they are working together, so this is CI. So we need to ensure that all our code, whether how many teams are working on it, after integrating, it should all be working smoothly as it was working before, right? So integration of these modules continuously without human intervention every time. So in order to ensure that at any point in time, the integrated software is working as expected, we can set up a build monitor, like which is visible to everyone. So build monitor is nothing, but it's a view of the pipeline which you build and wherein you can see the status of any of the builds at any time. So that build could be a test, lint, or a deployment to any of the environments, right? So what sort of decisions we can take while looking at that build, which is shared across the whole team, we'll see that in the later slides. Yep. So now we've seen what continuous integration is. So there must be some benefits of continuous integration, right? So we say that it adheres to increased visibility, enabling greater communication. So when I said that we can set up a build monitor that would be visible and shared across the whole team. So at any point in time, any person of the team can view that build monitor and see the status of that build monitor. So it would have greater visibility and obviously enable greater communication. And as I said earlier, that we can take certain sort of decisions on the basis of what's the status of our build at any point in time. We'll see that what sort of decisions we can take. So we can catch issues early and fix them accordingly. So this is one of the things that we can do. So when our code is running through the pipeline, right? So at any point in time, if the build fails, you'll know that whose commit is going through the build. And once we know that the build has failed, we can just that person should take the ownership to fix the build and make sure that it's updated with the changes, right? So we spend less time debugging and more time adding features. So when we say that we are adding our code continuously to and making sure that it's flowing through the pipeline, at any point in time, if a commit fails, we know whose commit has failed it, and others can still continue working on adding features while the debugging will be done by a single person. And for achieving those things, we need to ensure that we have all the proper tests in place that should be testing the whole scenario of the application in the pipeline, right? So we say that it reduces integration problems, allowing us to deliver software more rapidly. So obviously when we are integrating it several times a day, so it will reduce those integration problems and the conflicts that we might have while merging our code, and it will allow us to deliver software more rapidly. All good so far? So I think there is a Q&A, but I can't open it. Okay. So I'll move on to next slide. Yep. So when we say continuous integration, so there are certain practices and processes that we follow. So going along the benefits of what CI provides, these are the practices and processes that we as a team need to follow or adhere to. So automate the build. So we talked about the deployment build pipeline in place, build monitor in place. So that means we need to have that build automated. So whenever anyone commits to the shared repository, it takes up the latest commit and ensures that it passes through all the stages. It performs linting, it performs testing, it performs all the required like deployment to test environments and all those stuff, right? So make your build self-testing. So your build should be self-testing. Like it should have all those test scenarios in place, which would be testing your application thoroughly. Every commit should be on integration machine, which in turn informs the team with a failure or success of the build. So of course, when we say we are committing to the shared repository several times a day, we mean that every commit should go through the integration machine, which would inform the team whether a build has succeeded or failed. So there are certain norms that we as a team would need to follow to ensure that basis a build is failed or it has succeeded, we would take certain decisions. So those decisions could be like whether you are able to push to a, whether you should be pushing your code or not to the shared repository if the build is read, or if you are making sure that if you are pushing your code at the end of your day, you just ensure that your commit flows through all the pipelines that it goes through and all those stuff. So we say test in a clone of the production environment. So when we say this, so of course, taking anything to production means we'll be making it live and making it usable to all the customers that will be using it, right? So before going ahead with that, there should be a testing done in a clone of that environment so that we are sure that there's nothing faulty or nothing breaking that we are sending it to that environment. So we should make it easy for anyone to get the latest executable version. So at any point in time, we know that multiple teams are working on the shared repository. So at any point in time, if someone takes the latest code and tries to run it locally or anywhere or any other environment, it should be executable and there should not be any flaws in it. So it's our responsibility as a team. So whenever we merge our code to a shared repository, it should be executable and it should not be breaking. So everyone can see what's happening because you have the shared build monitor, so everyone can see what is happening. And automate deployment to test environments, like I talked about earlier. So we'll be testing in a clone of production environment, plus we'll be automating deployment to test environments. Once our linting testing and like unit tests and those sort of tests have passed, we should be deploying it to a test environment so that we can run our automated API.js tests or acceptance tests over there. Yeah, so I guess that's all about continuous integration. So we have seen what continuous integration is, and now I'll hand over to Sparsh to share insights on continuous delivery.
Thank you, Manali. Okay, everyone. So in the initial slides, we saw how Bob transformed the blank space into the amazing ThoughtWorks office. And we all agreed that the proposed strategy would be to use section by section development. Now, let's say Bob develops a section and ThoughtWorks decides not to use it. What does that mean? Is that section not usable? No, that section is usable. That section is in what we call in software terms production ready. And that is what delivery means. So I was explaining you the word delivery. So the delivery means making your changes, your updates production ready. Whether the clients wants it on production or not, it is their choice. So what is continuous delivery? Making sure your changes and whatever updates you are making to the software can be released to production at any time. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to be. So how does that work? So what does that mean? So let's say you can keep your app ready on a stage server. So the client sees that it is ready to be delivered, so they can decide when to deliver it to production. So your team can also make sure that the app is or the software developed is deployable rather than working over the new features which are not deployable. And yes, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I read a question on chat. So Ranjit's mentioned that he has somewhere he found written that CD is continuous deployment or delivery. Right. I asked the same question to you guys. So do you think they are same or they are different? People often use them interchangeably. What do you think? Let's have a poll. I want to know. Yes, guys. Mrinal, can you please launch a poll?
So 30 seconds for this one.
Okay, so 74% of you are aware about the difference between deployment and delivery, and that is great. Not I have not found that much percentage, and I often see people mixing the both. Okay, so for the rest of the guys, let's explain what's the difference between continuous deployment and continuous delivery. Yes. Okay, now they are not same, obviously. That is why the slide is there. They represent different ideas to achieve the same goal of continuous pushing of your changes. That is why people do use these both interchangeably, and that is wrong. Now, pushing your changes is often called deploying the app. Whatever we may have seen people talking in office, let's deploy this and deploy that. And continuous deployment means that every changes goes through the pipeline and automatically gets put into production. So that may result in multiple production deployments every day. So let's say you just simply run git push and that your change directly goes into production. Now you may want that or not, depends. What if client has an approval mechanism? So the client says, okay, before pushing any change to production, you need approval from me. So that in that sense, sorry.
Uh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, the arrows are working in different direction. Oh, strange. Okay, so for that, we have a safer and more meaningful term called continuous delivery. So what does that mean? That means that you are able to do frequent delivery and frequent deployments, but you may not choose to do it. So you are capable, you are able, you are you have made your changes and they work, but you may not want to push them to the production. It may be usually due to the business preferring a slower rate of deployment. And of course, with continuous deployment, whenever there is continuous deployment, there is continuous delivery. So deployment is a higher construct. If you are pushing continuous changes to production, you are achieving delivery as well, as higher constructs complete continuous deployment. Always remember, continuous deployment to production is very extreme and very risky. Not every project or not every client would have a approval structure or a continuous test structure, a sign off, a check, a code review. So you need to decide at what level you want to choose. Continuous delivery, on the other hand, simply means being prepared to deploy. So yes, that is the difference, being able to deploy to production or push deploying to production continuously. That is the difference between the two. Now let's get into detail of continuous delivery. So what are the benefits that we get out of continuous delivery? So reduced deployment risk. How? Since we deploy smaller changes, right? So there is less things to go wrong, and it is easier to fix if anything occurs. If any problem occurs, it is easier to fix. Believable progress. Trust me, this is one of the most important thing, that client is able to see what the team is doing. If you are using waterfall and client sees the app 1 year later, 2 years later, they might not be confident enough that okay, there is some progress made. And having a tracking method, what is done and what is left, is good. You can have a production like environment where you can show the readiness or the progress as well. Better product. Obviously, whenever a product development includes feedback as core, you always end up having a better product that client is happy with, right? And user feedback, the most important construct of being agile. The biggest risk to any software effort is that you end up building something that is not useful, right? The earlier and most frequently you get working the software in front of real users, the quicker you get feedback and you can find out how valuable it is. So now let's discuss how do we achieve CD process in our project. How do we achieve, or how do we make sure that there is continuous delivery in our project? And the first and the obvious is achieve CI process. Without integration, delivery cannot be made. If your team is working on different modules, and if those modules are not integrated, your app could be broken, and you do not want to deploy a broken app. You can always push your executables or your jars to binary increasing production like environment. So there could be an integration environment, there could be a developer environment, there could be a stage or a showcase environment, and then finally the production environment. And yes, and build a deployment pipeline. So what does having a deployment pipeline helps? We need to automate most of the aspect of delivery, except maybe pushing to production. Automating deployment ensure your changes could be deployed to different stages, dev, test, or showcase. And so a lot of tests happen in your product app. They may be unit, they may be functional, they may be integration, and those could be made automatic as well. So CI, with the help of deployment pipeline, helps you achieve continuous delivery. And automation of all environments, maybe perhaps without production, is also important. Now, we will discuss pipelines in detail in a later session. You will get to know how do we create, how do we use them, and how do they help achieve a CD, continuous delivery, and in those later sessions. And for the final point, how team is important and how integration of team is important, let's just go to next slide and we'll discuss that there. Continuous delivery, agile, CI is a lot of a team responsibility rather than a individual's responsibility. Project delivery is not a ops in job or a dev's job. It is the team responsibility to make sure your app delivery is smooth. It requires participation and contribution of the whole team. A course A close collaborative working relationship between everyone is must. So at ThoughtWorks, we talk about shared responsibility. It is everyone's responsibility, whether BA, whether QAs, and whether developers, infra guys. It is everyone that makes sure that they follow these basic practices. So we do not check in frequently. We make sure that our code at least runs in local, or we have a unit test mechanism. We do not check in broken code, never. uh, do not check in untested code. Do not check in when build is broken. So let's say if the previous push of the code broke your build, then why do we need to push another change? And do not go home after checking in until the system builds. Make sure your system is built, right? For example, why do we say this is shared responsibility? Now let's say there is monitoring in the project. So monitoring may not be the only job of infra guys or the ops team in your project, or specifically now DevOps engineer. Developers can also monitor their services. So they understand the in and outs of their service, what they have written. So they can provide better inputs to whatever the uh, data is that we get from the monitoring. And to help all this, the culture at your organization also supports that, and it matters a lot. It is also important that you onboard your client on this journey. They may not be accustomed to working in agile manner. You may need to make those efforts to enable them with practices that you follow in the team. Encourage them for feedbacks and participate, make sure they participate in the team, right? Now let's look at some tools that can help you achieve these CI/CD. Jenkins, the most famous one. Bamboo is by Atlassian. There are some open source tools, Travis, Concourse. Go is something that ThoughtWorks built. TeamCity is by JetBrains, Circle CI, GitLab, as private hosted and private service companies, CloudBees, they provide their CI/CD tools. Now, their tools might provide you only CI, or they might provide you complete suite of delivery with CI integrated, right? We have CI/CD tools from cloud providers. We have from every cloud provider has some tool. AWS has, Azure has, and GCP has, right? So previous slide. Okay, so now let's move on to our chief scientist of ThoughtWorks, Martin Fowler. So we have got these two quotes from him. Now, who is Martin Fowler? He is the chief scientist in ThoughtWorks, and he was among the 17 engineers who published the first manifesto for agile software development back in 2001. So ThoughtWorks from very early has been following agile and very integrated with it. So what do he says about CI? So CI integration doesn't get rid of bugs, but it makes them dramatically easier to find and remove. Obviously, if you have multiple modules, you can easily debug and get rid of that bug. And for delivery, he says delivery aims to make releases boring so we can deliver frequently and get fast feedbacks on what users care about. So this is very interesting that he talks about that delivery makes releases boring. So what does boring mean here? So let's say there is a new OnePlus phone coming. There is a lot of hype around it whenever there is a new launch. Similarly, in our world, whenever there is a new tool launching, there is a lot of hype around it. So there is Kubernetes. Okay, so the whole world goes crazy that there is Kubernetes now, there is Helm now. But if we look at the recent upgrades or releases to them, they may seem boring. Okay, they are not bringing something very interesting to the table now. For example, Java, when 1.8 came in, the whole world got, okay, so this is new thing, Java has revived and all those things. But we have Java 13, 14 now, and nobody knows what changes they have made. So the releases have become boring. And what does boring mean? Your product has matured. you are delivering more frequently, and you're getting feedbacks from the user and improving and building upon whatever you have. So very interesting quotes from Martin, and I hope you guys are now comfortable with CI/CD and the terminologies and the concepts. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to Q&A.
So over to you, Sadaf.
Right, folks. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand and we'll unmute you. If there are any thoughts also that you'd like to share or anything, please feel free. We have a 5-minute break right now, so till the next session. So in case there's anything that you would like to discuss with our presenters or share anything, please feel free. Manali and Sparsh, there's a question which says, what is the exact meaning of the current version in Git? If you'd like to take it up live.
Sparsh, would you take that up?
Yeah. Current versions in Git, as in, well, I'm not able to get the question. If Shlok, you could explain.
So yeah, can we just unmute Shlok and maybe he can ask his question?
So Shlok, you can unmute yourself now and you can ask your question.
So hi ma'am, this is Shlok ma'am. So I wanted to ask that ma'am, like you ma'am, in the theory part you said that means we will be having current versions, means different developers will be having their current versions in the Git, like if I have changed something and I have cloned it, so I will have its copy. Okay, so the next person will be having the copy of the original one until he has not changed anything in it. So basically, what I was asking is that if we do the changes, like I did change and I have it, and they did their changes and they have it. So is that the meaning of the versions?
Yeah, so version at any point in time refers to the commit that you do the state of your code at any point in time. So when you say you have taken your code from a central repository at a single point, let's say you and your friend have taken it from a central repository, right? So at that point in time, you would have the same versions of code, right? So let's say you make certain commits to master and then push your code to master branch. Okay, so
Yes, ma'am.
your friend would have a version which is behind the version that you have. Okay, and he'll have those changes only when he'll take the latest pull from the central repository.
Yes, ma'am.
So those are the things that we talked about. So at any point in time, if you keep on integrating your code to the central repository, so if any person would take the latest pull, he would have the changes same as yours. So there would be no clashes in terms of the merge issues or anything that you would face in those scenarios.
Means like merge conflicts.
Yeah.
Ma'am, basically merge conflicts do occur, ma'am, when there is a change in the same line or somewhat.
Right. Right. That is correct. So in case, so there are times that you may face them if you haven't like rebased or taken pull from the main branch, and you are trying to merge it after many days, right? So at any point in time, there might be a scenario wherein multiple people are working in a single file at the same time, right? So
Yes,
when we
ma'am.
say that you keep on integrating it daily, so we are saying that if you'll integrate it daily, you'll have less chances of those conflicts occurring at any point in time.
Ma'am, but
Because Mhm.
one question was that, ma'am, if I am not regular, like I am doing the commits in every alternate days, so ma'am, will there be any disadvantage or advantage for that?
so we can't say there would be any disadvantage or advantage, but what is preferable is you try and commit your code to the repository daily, because it would avoid chances of you getting those conflicts and integration issues for others.
Okay, ma'am.
Does that answer your question, Shlo?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a question from Tarun Deep, and he wants to discuss briefly on continuous delivery and deployment again. Okay, so I'll give you a simple definition, Tarun. Continuous deployment is when you push in your code and that is deployed automatically to production. So you have everything automatic, from your repository checking to your integration testing, or all kinds of testing. Integration is continuous, and your deployment to different stages is also automatic, and then it is automatically pushed to production. And delivery means being able to do that. So being able to make sure that your changes, your code is ready for deployment to production, but it cannot be, or it may be or may not be deployed, right? So let's say if your client has a approval mechanism, he says, my POs need to sign off before your change is pushed to production. So your changes could be automatically deployed till showcase environment. And then there is a sign off, and then your code is pushed to production. So there is a human intervention. So that is delivery. Being able to do that and doing that. That is the difference. I hope you understand this. And if you have any further question, you can unmute yourself and
Does that answer your question, Tarun? You can unmute.
Yeah, it answers my question. Thank you so much.
no issues.